Alright, so imagine this. You're just vibing, living your life, maybe not the best life, but hey, it's yours. Then, bam, you're told you're marrying some dude. Not just any dude, the Jin, who's rumored to have a heart as cold as his bank vault. And it's not like you have a choice here, so.
Yeah.
The vibes? Absolutely off. The awkward intro. YN, sitting in a grand, cold room, looks around nervously. The lavish, old-school Italian decor just screams rich mafia villain. And there she is, waiting for her husband, still struggling to even think of him like that, to walk in. She's imagining some Cruella de Vil level entrance, but nothing could prepare her for what's about to happen. Jin enters room. He struts in, looking like he's walking the runway of his own life. The vibe? Definitely not warm. This man radiates unapproachable, like it's a personality trait. He adjusts his suit, raises an eyebrow, and barely glances in YN's direction. Jin, with a smirk, so, you're the one they picked out for me, huh? YN, internally, what am I, a pair of shoes? She sizes him up. And let's be honest, the man's attractive, like, I'm uncomfortable with how hot you are, attractive. But still, something about his vibe screams a villain arc. YN. Nice to meet you? Jin, listen, I don't need nice. I need obedient. Oh, he did not just say that. YN, deadpan, wow. Charming. I can tell this is gonna be such a fun marriage. Jin, unfazed, glances at his assistant who's standing by. The assistant gives a little nod, seemingly approving of this whole scene. And thus begins the saga of YN's new life, stuck in a gothic romance novel with a guy who thinks empathy is a foreign word. Rules are meant to be broken? Fast forward to their first dinner together. YN's trying to play it cool, but Jin? He's already setting the ground rules. Jin, rule number 1. No sneaking out. Rule number 2. Don't touch anything in my office. Rule #3. YN, cutting in, is there a rule where I get to make any rules? Jin's expression is pure condescension. Jin, this isn't a partnership. It's an arrangement. Oof. Alright then. YN rolls her eyes, barely hiding her irritation. She might be forced into this situation, but she's not gonna be a total pushover. Not on her watch. Testing limits. Days go by, and the rules start piling up. Jin's operating like he's running a high-stakes boarding school, but YN isn't exactly keen on following orders like a good little soldier. So, what does she do? Naturally, she starts poking at every single one of his rules. One day, YN's bored out of her mind. She's in his massive mansion, yet she feels like a hamster in a golden cage. She's itching for entertainment. So, she does what anyone in her position would do, she explores Jin's forbidden office. But of course, because she's got the subtlety of a bull in a china shop, she ends up knocking over some super expensive, very breakable art piece. Jin catches her in the act. Jin, exasperated, do you enjoy being a problem? YN, I mean, the alternative is listening to you, so.
Yeah.
Guess I do. She's expecting anger, maybe a yell, but Jin just stares at her. Then, with the driest tone imaginable. Jin, you've got 5 seconds to leave my office. YN, for seconds more than I need. She saunters out, pretending she didn't just mildly panic the second she got caught. Let the games begin. The little acts of rebellion continue, with YN testing every rule Jin throws her way. Jin is less than amused. But every time he tries to enforce some kind of punishment, YN meets him with sass that's just on the edge of respectful, or maybe not even that close. One evening, YN's lounging on the couch, scrolling on her phone. Jin walks in, deadpan as ever. Jin, you're not allowed to leave the house without permission. YN, without looking up, says the guy who came back at 3 a.m. yesterday. Jin mutters to himself, who knew I'd end up married to a brat. YN, careful, you're sounding a little emotional there. Didn't know you had feelings. Jean shoots her a glare so cold, it could freeze fire. But instead of storming off, he just shakes his head, muttering something about her being impossible. The assistant's suggestion. Later, Jin's talking with his assistant, venting about YN's constant rule-breaking and sarcastic remarks. Jean, she just never listens. It's like she lives to defy every single thing I say. Assistant shrugs, ever think maybe if you tried a different approach? Jean, different? I'm not kind. Kindness is for people who, I don't know, care. The assistant can barely contain an eye roll but tries to keep it professional. Assistant, maybe just pretend? Or find some way to understand her? Jean raises an eyebrow. The suggestion bounces around in his head, and he looks almost intrigued. But then, his phone pings with a notification, pulling his attention away. The idea strikes. As the assistant steps out, Jean glances at his phone. He accidentally opens a video his assistant was watching earlier, some drama where a girl cross-dresses to infiltrate a boys' school or something. He watches a few seconds, curiosity piqued. Jean mutters, she really went undercover just to understand them? The wheels start turning. Maybe this is his ticket to figuring YN out. But wait, that would mean he'd have to become someone else, too. Someone kind? He pictures himself acting all soft and caring, and the idea is both ridiculous and weirdly intriguing. With a mix of excitement and horror, he decides he's going to give this pretend to care experiment a shot. YN has no idea what's coming her way, but for Jean, the game is officially on. Little does he know, he's about to dive headfirst into his own ridiculous scheme to understand his wife, a scheme that might just turn his entire cold-hearted reputation upside down.